Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we're going to be talking about a new bronzer from Guerlain. This is in the Terracotta line. It's called Terracotta Light. And this one is a little different from previous ones because it has more of a multitude of colors and tones in here. So, you know, we're going to talk about this. I've got a couple of demos that I want to show you, and also right now I have on the Guerlain bronzer on one side and my favorite Gucci bronzer on the other. So can you tell which side is which? Let's cut to the demos and we'll include that one in there. And then we're going to come back and talk about this bronzer. Okay, so first of all, this is how the case is. I do not have any of these other Guerlain bronzers. I had purchased one from one of the holiday collections and it was in the Terracotta line. I have to say this smells different to me. So I'm not sure if this is a new smell for the Terracotta line or if maybe the holiday one that I had was different, but this is not as strong and it's a little bit more floral actually. So it's surprising to me, but yes, there's definitely a scent here. So this is shade 00 Claire Rose or Light Cool. And we do have a mirror at the top and it does snap closed. So I'm going to take my favorite bronzer brush, the Chantecaille F04. I'm just going to get some on here, tap off anything excess, and let's just see how this goes. I mean, definitely get color there. Curious how this will compare to the Gucci. So that's my favorite. Let's go on a little bit softer here. So that's a lighter layer. And let's pile it on a little bit more. So could definitely use this just as a blush. You know, all over bronzer and all of that as well. Let me show you this from a distance. All right, so placement is not quite right over here. I couldn't really see what I was doing at first. All right, so here it is from a distance. My placement, you know, you can see it's a little bit too low over here on this side, but I think color-wise, it actually works really well. I think I really like it over here. Let me know what you guys think. So today I have on a very light coverage foundation. It's more of a skin tint. It's a Sisley Fido Tint Nude or something like that. The one in this little bottle. And we're gonna go ahead and we're going kind of minimal. We're gonna just use this as blush today. So this is the Chantecaille F04, and let's just put this on. See what kind of natural kind of glow we can get with that. I have to say, really, the smell is so different from the other one that I had. This smell doesn't bother me. I mean, would I prefer to not have it there? Yes, but it's not going to hinder me from using this. So, yeah. Let me know what you think of the bronzer on the cheeks. Here it is from a distance. You know what? Let's just add a little bit more over here. Very light, natural looking. I mean, don't really need to use anything else if I don't want to. So hopefully those demos were helpful And as you can see, I did add some blush on top. You know, I had just the bronzer, but hopefully you could see, even with that, the difference in tone between the side here with the Guerlain and this side here with the Gucci. So the Guerlain is still just going to be a little bit warmer in tone than the Gucci. We are going to compare all of these side by side, as well as some additional bronzers. But first, let's talk a little bit about the product. So the bronzer has been released along with a new brush as well. There's a terracotta light kabuki brush. It retails for $57 US. I did not pick it up. It is a synthetic brush. It looks really nice. Like, there's a nice handle, you know, it's very aesthetic. And according to Guerlain, its ultra practical kabuki format allows it to be carried everywhere. Its high quality synthetic bristles gently caress the face. With its generous beveled shape, this comfortable brush is very easy to handle, making it possible to work with any type of powder as desired. Elegant and ethical in one, it features a responsibly sourced lacquered wood base with the FSC wood label. So, you know, just some things to know if you are interested in that brush. It does look really nice. I have so far only seen it on the Guerlain website, as well as the bronzer. So the bronzer retails for $56 US. And according to Guerlain, it's offering a reinvented sun-kissed glow with terracotta light, the new natural healthy glow powder. This light powder features a radiant, healthy looking glow for every skin tone. And it says this new formula offers an ultra fine second skin texture that preserves the natural finish of each complexion. A unique combination of naturally derived luminescent shimmers to bring out the radiance of the complexion all day long. So, you know, it mentions shimmers. It's not a shimmery bronzer. There's no like sparkle or anything. It's very, very finely milled. It has like a creamy texture to the powder. And I think it's, you know, a really nice product. One thing to mention, we do have 6 shades with this. Yes, so there are 6 shades of this powder. There are 3 intensities. There's a light, medium, and dark in a cool version and a warm version. So I have the light cool, which is 00 Claire Rosé. It has a 12-month lifespan or shelf life. And this is going to be made in France. So there's a click closure. You can see that, you know, your 2 edges, they're, you know, it's like beveled here. So this snaps closed. And we have a mirror at the top. It did come with a little plastic sheet there, and it's pretty compact. So it's definitely something you could easily throw in a bag. So in each powder case, there are 4 shades encapsulated in terracotta light's historic compaction with organic impressions that symbolize this natural revolution and pay homage to the earth itself. According to Guerlain, this pattern perfectly combines a satin bronzing shade, a tone-on-tone matte shade, a vibrant blush shade, and a universal luminizer that offers all skin types a beautiful translucent finish. So I have to say, I do really think that the combination of colors in here is really nice, and I think Guerlain does it really well. So you can see here that this one here has a little bit of shimmer. We've got our pink blush shade. This is probably our tone-on-tone matte shade and our bronzing shade. Now, this does have a fragrance, and I'm not sure if it is, I mentioned this during the first demo, but I don't know whether or not this is the same as all of the other Guerlain Terracotta products or not. I had only tried one, which I thought was the normal fragrance. This is different. It's not quite as intense as the one I tried. The one I tried was the bronzer from the Guerlain Holiday 2020 collection. Really gorgeous, beautiful packaging and so forth. But the actual bronzer itself, it was too strongly scented for me. And the fragrance was a little different. This is a little bit lighter and a little bit more floral. It's kind of like you take a little bit of that classic terracotta fragrance and you make it a little bit lighter and add some, like, it smells like white florals to me. And according to Guerlain, it also has a touch of flower honey from Euphorbia, which is a Moroccan plant, to help with skin's natural hydration and ensure comfort on the skin. So I have to say that this powder, or this bronzing powder, I've been using this for, I don't know, close to a week now. and is very comfortable, lasts all day. I really enjoy the finish on the skin. And you know, it's been hard to decide which one I prefer, the Guerlain or the Gucci. I would definitely have to say that these are my two favorite bronzers. This is Gucci in 01. And between the two, I do actually prefer the tones of the Gucci, and I really love the formula of both of them. I think they are both a great formula. They both look great on the skin. If you're like fair, neutral, leaning slightly cool like I am, I think the Gucci just has a little bit more of that reddish tone in there that makes it just look a little bit more natural. It's not quite as bronzed. It's more like that almost sun-kissed kind of look. So I do think the Gucci coloring is still a little bit better than the Guerlain. Formula-wise though, there is something special about the way that these four shades kind of interact with each other. And I have to say, I really like them on the skin. So to rank them personally, I would pick Gucci first because of the color, and then the Guerlain would be second, you know, so that's just my personal preference, but I really like this new formula. Let's look at a few more bronzers. So this is the Tom Ford Terra bronzer, and this is another one that I really like. It's going to be a little bit lighter. You can see the pigmentation of the powder is actually a little bit softer. It's not quite as creamy as the Guerlain, which is a little bit creamier than the Gucci. The Gucci is more of like a silky powder texture, whereas the Guerlain has just a little bit of a creaminess to that silky powder texture. So slight difference there. And you can see though that the Terra shade is still gonna be a little bit cooler than the Guerlain. The Guerlain has just a little bit warmer tones in it. Then we also have the Dior. This is the Dior Forever Natural Bronze that came out last year. This is in 04 Tan Bronze. And, you know, I think this is a nice product as well. That's one layer. You can see it's sheer. This is a firmer powder in the pan. This isn't one that I love. This is just a second layer of it, so you can see the color a little bit better. And I don't know, for some reason on me, I just feel like it's nice, but there's something about it. It just looks a little dirty essentially on my skin. So it's not one that I reach for very often. And then we also have the Chanel Le Beige powder in number 50. So it's technically not a bronzer, but I use this as a bronzer. And I think this is a nice product as well, but I kind of grouped this one with the Dior, and it's a little bit more yellow. So that's one layer. You can see though, because this is technically not a bronzer, it's more of like a light powder, that it is a little bit easier to get a lighter wash of color of this on the skin. So it is something a little bit easier to use, but it is a little bit too yellow for me personally. And then we have the Sisley. This is a Fita Poudre Compact Powder in shade 4 Bronze. And I just recently picked this one up. So this is relatively new to me. I love the actual powder. It's kind of a drier powder. You don't need to use it, you know, a ton at once. You can see though, color-wise, the Guerlain actually has like, it's a little bit more orange, whereas this one has a little bit more red. But it's not gonna be, they're both still warmer in tone than something like the Gucci. I think this is a really nice product. The color is still just not quite right for me, but I really think this is a great option. And then the last one I wanted to look at is the Chantecaille bronzer in Goa. And I know this looks like I haven't used it, but it's such a deep color that I use very little at a time. I've actually used quite a lot of this. This is kind of like a gel to powder formula. It's very silky on the skin. And when you're swiping it with a finger, you can actually kind of feels like there's like a silicone content to it. But tonally, I think it's a really nice, kind of a cooler tone shade. Not as cool as the Gucci, but you know, it is gonna be cooler than these other options here. It's deep, it's really easy to get the pigmentation from it. So for somebody with my skin tone, you have to be a little bit more cautious with it, but I think it's gorgeous on the skin. So just a quick ranking of these powder bronzers. These are kind of the ones that I use the most, but I have to say I really use the top 4 more so than the bottom 4. So my favorites would be first the Gucci in 01, which is fair, followed by the Guerlain in 00, Clair Rosé or light cool. And then next up, we would go with Tom Ford Terra. And then after that, the Chantecaille Goa. And then the Sisley Fido Poudre Compact in 4 bronze. And then after that, I would go with the Dior in 4 tan bronze, followed by the Chanel Le Beige Powder in 50. So those are kind of that's my ranking for powder bronzers that I tend to use. And while we're talking about bronzers, let's just look at a couple contour powders that I really like as well. These are Surratt shadows. So this one here is Surratt in Grisaille. It's one of the blushes. This is gonna be cooler in tone. So a lot of times I don't use contour and bronzer, but I might use the contour in place of a bronzer and just cut it a little bit lower on the cheekbone here, get more in that hollow. And then the other one I really like is this from Koh Gen Do. This is the Givenchy Contrast Powder in Glow, but you can see how tiny this is. And I like the highlighter. I like the contour shade. I would use this a ton if this whole pan were the contour shade. But unfortunately, it's so small. It's hard to get your brush in. But these are the 2 contour powders that I like. And you can see here that they are going to be cooler in tone, a little bit more grayish than the Gucci, but they're definitely closer to that than any of the other shades. So I feel like the Gucci is a really good one that you can kind of use as a bronzer contour on my skin tone compared to the others, which are really a true bronzer. And although in the demos, I did show them a little bit lower, most of the time with the bronzer, I actually prefer to just kind of put it right here on the top of the cheekbone towards the back, and then a pop of blush right up here. And I think that's better with these warmer toned bronzers. So with the Guerlain, that's my preference. And I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on that. So final thoughts, I really like the bronzer. I think it's a fantastic formula. I do like the color. Again, in the demo, I showed it placed just slightly lower than my preference, mostly so that you can really see the color more isolated, so it doesn't kind of get confused with the blush. But I think this particular bronzer and the complex just works really well towards the back up here, you know, or even just as blush, which you saw in the second demo. So that's kind of my preference for using this. And I have to say, these are the 2 bronzers I'm going to be reaching for over and over. And yeah, I'm really happy to have found something not quite as loved as my Gucci, but really close. Honestly, if I had to choose the Guerlain formula I prefer over the Gucci formula, it's really just the color that puts the Gucci slightly ahead for me. So I hope this was helpful. And if you decide to test this out sometime, please let me know what your thoughts are on this bronzer. And I think it's really lovely. So thanks so much. I hope to see you again very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.